I was working full-time as a researcher. Part of my job was to do interview with people. So a friend of mine told me that his friend is coming from the States and he's an activist and he was, a rising star in the Arab American community and you should interview him. And I did the interview and it was love from the first sight and we fell madly in love with each other and I ended up coming to visit him in the States, in Detroit, where he was living, and we ended up marrying and I stayed here since then. He was charming, he was full of life, he was very excited about life and things, and he was political, he was activist, and I thought we have a lot in common. My relationship with my first husband ended up being with a divorce, so we had our challenges and we were different, Part of it I think was the pressure for me to adjust to life in America. To me, life was very, very difficult actually. Not being able to work was very, very difficult because I was working, I have two jobs, I was volunteering, not having friends was difficult. So people think of immigration as a simple process. It's really very hard on people when they come here. I felt literally uprooted and I felt like I lost my independence. I lost my independence, I lost my job, I lost my family, I lost my ability to walk to work. I lost my ability to walk to a restaurant. It took me a while. Ultimately I learned how to drive, I learned English, I got my citizenship, I was allowed to work, but that doesn't happen overnight. And by the time it happened, I was really very, very frustrated, I was depressed, and I really didn't want to stay. Well, my second husband, I've known him for a long time before we got married. I've known him as an activist in a community. He was active in a community. He was, on the board of an organization called Palestine Aid Society that I worked with. So I kind of knew him in the early mid-90s. We met again in a conference and we started talking, and then we started talking on the phone. He was in Detroit and I was in Washington. Then I moved to Boston. And we continued long-distance relationship for like 3 years. And then finally, he convinced me to move to Michigan. He's really a very gentle soul. He's very kind. It's like sometimes you think of somebody like as your soulmate, you're on the same length. We're very good friends. To me, that's very, very important in a relationship. Also, we share a lot of same values. He's an immigration attorney. He cares a lot about people. He's very helpful, compassionate about people who are less fortunate than he is. So I found that very attractive quality. The museum was created by an organization I was working with called Access, and I was in charge to lead the process of creating the museum. In 1999, we started talking about, we need to create an institution that will reflect the history and culture of Arab American. And in 2000, we bought a building. It was a furniture store, boarded up furniture store across the street from City Hall. And ultimately we demolished the building and we created the museum. It took us from, let's say, 89 when we started talking about it till 2005 when we opened it. We were in the early process of creating the museum and then 9/11 happened. It was a period where there was a lot of attack about Arab American, a lot of attack about Muslim American, and we felt really under attack. And although the museum was not triggered, the creation of the museum wasn't the response to 9/11, but really 9/11 made us feel how important that institution should be. I think what makes America great, in my opinion, is that the diversity. We are a nation that embraces people, and that's a quality America does not want to lose.